welcome to episode 9 of Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming. Today, I want to talk about 3 questions that we get asked all the time that help our cat groomers become better cat groomers and run a successful business doing it. So in today's episode, I'm going to be covering 3 questions. And the first question is, what photos can I use to help promote my business? Number 2, how do I set boundaries as a home-based salon? And number 3, what products can I use for stud tail? So if you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to click the notifications button below so that you can get notifications when we go live, add a video, or add more content that's just like this. So in today's episode, we're going to be talking about some business stuff as well as some cat grooming product stuff at the very end. So the first question I want to discuss is, what photos are you allowed to use for your business in terms of promoting on your Facebook page, in your social media accounts, on your website, in your brochures, all that fun stuff. So the first thing is, do you have permission to use those photos? So just because they are posted online does not mean you can use them. So photos are typically owned by the person who takes the photo. This is standard for copyright. There are some exceptions to the rule. However, primarily the person who takes the photos owns them. And if you've used photos that you didn't take or you don't have permission to use, you've kind of just gotten away with it by now, just because the owner of the photo hasn't sought out copyright infringement on their property. So what photos can you use in your business? Well, the first thing is that you can take the photos yourself. If you take the photos, you own them. If you are taking them in your business setting, then you can have a dedicated camera in order to take photos of the grooms that come in and out, cute pictures for your social media accounts. If you own the business, you should really have something that's dedicated to photos for your business, not just letting employees use their own personal devices and posting them themselves. Make sure you have something dedicated that's for your business so there's no question on who owns the photo in the future. So the first thing is taking photos yourself. If you are super busy in your salon, what I would recommend is dedicating a certain day of the month or a certain afternoon of the month that you specifically take a lot of photos and then utilize those photos throughout the rest of the month. I know a lot of groomers who tend to start out really slow with their salons and they take photos of every single pet and they do these really cute backgrounds, and I think it's amazing. However, if you have not planned that to scale, which means as you grow that you have maintained enough time and profit margin to continue doing those things, then I wouldn't recommend doing them from the beginning. Because what happens is that later on down the road, you get really busy in your salon, you're booking out weeks, and now clients are upset because Fluffy's photo wasn't posted on Facebook today. Save yourself a lot of headache and stagger when you're posting these photos. You can still use lots and lots of them, but either have something dedicated that is a service that you can continue to provide for the long term, have it as an add-on, or just have it as a nice bonus. And there's a lot of photos that you can take within your business that are not just posed in front of a backdrop. There's lots and lots of different types of photos. There's close-up shots, there's bath shots, there's drying shots, there's playful, there's expressions. There's photos of you or your staff doing the actual grooming. There's a lot of different things that you can take photos of. So if you have one day a month or one afternoon a month that you've set aside the time to take all of your photos for the month, you will feel so much better because now you've got tons of content that you can actually post and that you own. So the second thing is that you can either hire a photographer. So if you work by yourself, like I do, what I did is I set up a photo shoot with a professional photographer. We did one afternoon where I had exactly what I wanted set up, and we took photos that I now have permission to use within certain limits. So I can use them on my social media, I can use them to print and do brochures and flyers and in my email marketing, on my website, but I do not have permission to sell them to other people. That's a standard agreement when you work with a professional photographer. So you can hire a photographer to do these things, or you can also buy stock photos. At the National Cat Groomers, we have different stock photo packages that are high resolution photos that you have permission to use within your business, your social media, your website, your brochures, your flyers. As long as you're not selling them to other people, we provide that information for you, we provide that permission. So that's another way that you can get permission, is by purchasing stock photos. Finally, if you like someone else's photo, and you can get explicit permission from the owner of that photo, they may allow you to post it on your page. Now, what I try to recommend is either share it directly from that person's Facebook or social media accounts, or ask them to send you a photo that has their logo on it. So that way you're giving the proper credit where it's due. Try not to just share photos without permission. It's really not in good taste with your own business, and the copyright permissions get really wonky. So the best thing to do is work with those other people so that you can build relationships with them, or take photos yourself, or make sure that you have explicit permission by either hiring a photographer that they know you're going to use these photos in a commercial setting, or you have purchased the rights of those photos to use them within your business. So the second question I want to talk about is, how do I set boundaries when I'm a home-based grooming salon? So I have a home-based grooming salon, and I found for the most part that I don't have a lot of clients who stomp all over my boundaries or show up at all times of day. I really feel that it's best to start off on the right foot. So primarily, I don't promote that I have a home-based business on the internet. So if you look at my website or if you look at my social media accounts, it doesn't say outright that I'm a home-based salon. However, when someone comes for a tour or when I'm chatting with them on the phone and I know that they're a serious buyer, then I will explain that this is a business that's attached to my home, and as such I have certain restrictions with my business, and especially for boarding it works out really well because we're here all the time. So clients love that about it. But if you just have a grooming salon, it's also for safety reasons that you shouldn't promote that you're home by yourself for other people to come in and out. And so I find that if I don't promote it specifically as a home-based business online versus when I'm actually working with someone, I can promote it as a bonus. But online, I tend not to do that. And I find that if my clients see me as a business first versus a home-based hobby, then they'll give me a lot more respect right off the bat before they ever call. The next thing you should do is make sure to have very clear hours of operation and post them everywhere. So on your Google My Business page, on your website, on your Facebook, your social media, on your website. Mine is really clear. It's a banner right at the top. And I even have a window decal on my front storm door that has my hours listed. I find that clients are much more respectful when I'm giving them all this information up front. And I also tell them that I don't answer the door because the doorbell does not go as far into my cat area. And if I'm not expecting someone, I'm typically in the back caring for my cats and my client cats, which they love. My clients, by the way, they love that. And it's also nice that the doorbell doesn't reach because it's not going to interrupt us. So unless I'm expecting you, don't expect me to answer the door. And I find that clients are much more respectful of that. Finally, make sure that you have a very professional and tidy looking entryway if that's where the clients are coming in. If they're not coming right into your business area, then make sure where they are coming in is really neat, it's professional looking, you've got something related to your business in it. And so my clients come into my front room, and so I've really stripped down how much personal stuff is in the front, and I replaced it with something related to my business. So my front room has a couple cat portraits, nothing crazy. I don't like a lot of over-the-top pet stuff, but it's got a really nice cat tree, and I've got this little ledge with posters that I've made that promote different services. So I've got one that's got soft paws on it right now, and then right now I also have a picture of a tiger preserve that I visited, and my clients love talking about that because they were like, oh my gosh, is that a tiger? So it gets them talking. But it's still very much related back to my business because, obviously handling tigers in their mind must be just like grooming cats. So to them, it makes sense. So I have some very nice pictures out front. I've got a very professional looking entryway. My front storm door, like I mentioned, has our business decal on it. And so when you come in, you feel like it's a business, and that's the whole point. You want them to see you as a business, not just as a hobby. And so overall, make sure that you're being consistent with your business policies. If you are kind of wishy-washy on your business hours, then those clients don't know that your hours are set in stone. They think that, oh, well, since you're home, I'll just stop by, or I'll just call and come right over. Don't let it get that bad. If you're going to set policies in the beginning, make sure to enforce them. So every once in a blue moon, I do allow clients outside of my posted business hours, it's normally for my boarders, and it's because they're coming in really late and then I'm closed the next day or whatever it is. So there's very specific guidelines that I will allow a client to be outside my business hours, but then there are others that I say absolutely not. I do not allow anyone to come on Sundays. That is a big no-no for me. That is against my permit for my home-based business, and it's also my time to be with my husband and my family. So Sundays are an absolute no, which means that I will sometimes allow a client to come in as late as 6:30 if their flight got delayed, even though I close at 6 o'clock. So I have set those boundaries and what I'm willing to do, and I always follow through with them. So my grooms, I never allow them to come past a certain time. They have to pick up before 6, things like that. So always make sure that you're really clear on your policies from day one and stay consistent. You don't want to be bending too many rules that you're not going to be happy with in the future. So the final question I want to talk about is, what products do I recommend when you have a cat with stud tail? So I find that there's 3 different ways that you can go about this. One is I typically bathe my stud tail cats with Chubb's bars. This is a degreasing bar of shampoo made by National Cat Groomers president and founder Danielle German, and it really works amazing. The key with your Chubb's bars is to get the coat super saturated and wet before you add in the shampoo. This way the bar will work so much better, it will rinse really cleanly, and it'll really scrub, get right in there, and it should be a very foamy kind of toothpaste type of lather when you're using the Chubb's bar. Another type of product is liquid shampoos that are also degreasers. So this can include Groomer's Goop or Le Pooch F&T, and what I find for those is kind of the opposite. Instead of getting the coat really saturated and wet, what I go ahead and is I take a little bit of that product, I put it on dry coat and really work it into the skin to where I want to degrease, let it sit for a few minutes, let it marinate a little bit, then rinse fully and continue like normal, and that will just help to gently break up a lot of those additional oils. Finally, you can use a powder type product at the very end of the groom. So if you've already gone through the whole groom, you've bathed them, you've dried them, and now the cat is kind of getting weirded out and they're running out of turkey timer, and you notice that you still have a little bit of a greasy spot in their stud tail area and you're not able to go back and rebathe them. You can use something like a powder, something like cornstarch or even Pinot's powder. It's like in a green bottle. We use it at National Cat Groomers. And you take a little bit of that powder and work it into the skin, really work it in, comb it through, and then I use my blow dryer to kind of blast out any remnants just to make sure that it's not like a tail full of powder. So that way it's just a little bit and it just helps to soak up any remaining oils. But then I make a note in their file to really degrease them at the very beginning for their next appointment so that we're not having this over and over again. Powder is not a long-term solution and it shouldn't be used all over because it's not really solving the problem. And I don't want to give my cats a coat full of powder to go home and lick. So the powder is kind of last minute, I'm not able to put them back in, or they've expressed their anal glands at the very end during the last comb out, use a tiny bit of powder after I clean the area just to help it kind of soak up any remnants of the excess oil instead of having it be the entire bathing process. So thank you so much for joining me for today's Relax, It's Just Cat Grooming, episode 9, and we'll see you next week. Thanks so much.